Hello everyone. Today we are going to study the second section of the paper first of SY BSc Chemistry. In the second section, two chapters are given: volumetric analysis and errors in the data analysis. So today we are going to start the volumetric analysis. So we know that it is one of the topic from the analytical chemistry, and the analytical chemistry deals with the study of identification, separation and quantification of the substances or the compounds from the solutions. So in analytical chemistry, two methods are important in the determination of the compounds or the substances. It is quantitative analysis and qualitative analysis. So we know that these two methods, these are very important, and under these methods further different types of the techniques are included. So qualitative analysis means to determine or determination of the which type of the compounds or the component is present in the solution or in the mixture, or what is the composition of the given mixture or the solution. And the quantitative analysis dealing with the study of or determination of the how much amount of the compound is present in the given mixture or the sample. So under quantitative analysis, again further it is divided into the volumetric analysis and the gravimetric analysis. So in quantitative analysis, we are determining the amount of the substance or the elements which are present in the sample. So further it can be determined by the two methods, it is volumetric analysis and the gravimetric analysis. So from this we are going to study what is the volumetric analysis, which are different types of the analysis or reaction under this topic. So volumetric analysis, basically it is also called as the titrimetric analysis, and we are very familiar with the titrations. We are doing titrations in the practical chemistry. So we know how to carry out this titration, but in this titration we are determining the concentration of the compounds or the substances. So volumetric analysis, name indicates from the volume of the given compound or substance we can determine the concentration of the given sample or the given substance. So it is also called as the titrimetric analysis. It is nothing but the titration. So titration, we know that in titration process or in this technique we are titrating the one substance or the one compound, solution of the one compound with the solution of the another compound, in which the one compound, first compound having the known concentration and known volume, and the second compound or the sample having the known volume but the unknown concentration. So by using the formula N1V1 equals to N2V2, so if we consider this compound A and another compound will be B. So A compound having the we are having this A compound whose concentration is known and whose volume is also known, and second compound is we have taken that B, its volume is known, we can take the known volume of the compound, any compound, but its concentration is not known. So by using this formula N1V1 is equals to N2V2, so N1 is the exact normality or concentration of A, V1 is the exact volume of A, N2 is the normality or concentration of B which is to be determined, and V2 is the exact volume of the B. So unknown thing is this N2. So how we can determine this N2? So this N2 equals to N1V1 divided by V2. So all these quantities are known, N1, V1 and V2, all these quantities are known, so we can determine the value of the N2. That is the exact normality of the compound or sub-solution or sample B. So normality or exact concentration can be determined. So in this method it is called as the titration or the titrimetric analysis. So what actually process it is occurred in this titration? In this titration, if we consider the compound, two compounds are included. So titration having in the titration method different apparatuses are used, and this apparatus, by using this apparatus we will take the two samples or two compound or solution of the two compounds has been taken, and these two samples are analyzed and these two samples are reacted with one another in this method. So what is the procedure for this method? If we consider the A is the sample that having known volume and known concentration. Concentration we can say it as the normality. So it becomes N1 and V1. These are the normative concentration and volume of the A, and B is the sample or the solution that having the volume N2, which is determined from the titration, and we are going to determine this N2, which is the exact normality or concentration of the B. So two samples are allowed to react with each other, or the two compounds in the solution form, they are allowed to react with each other in such a way that we are getting a point at which these two samples or two reactant completely reacts, and we are getting the particular value for the volume of this reaction, and from this volume we can determine the corresponding concentration. Now let us consider these two sample. Now the sample A, whose concentration is already known, it is called as the standard solution. It is called standard solution. So standard solution is the solution or the sample whose concentration is exactly known. It is called as the standard solution. And in order to determine the exact concentration of the given sample by the process of titration, it is called as the standardization. So process of determination of the exact concentration of the sample by titration method, it is called as the standardization. Now in this case, this A is the standard solution whose volume and concentration is known, and B is the compound or the sample whose volume is known but the concentration is not known. So this is the sample whose concentration we are going to determine by titration. So A, whose out of these two samples whose concentration is known, it should be filled in this burette. So this is the long elongated tube-like structure having this now clip at this point. So it having the mark. So given volume 25 ml or 50 ml burettes are available. The sample whose solution whose concentration is known, it is filled in this burette, and the sample whose concentration is to be determined, it is taken in the particular amount like 10 ml, 9 ml in this conical flask. Further, in this conical flask, indicator is added. The indicator is added and this sample or this solution is allowed to react with the solution present in this conical flask. So slowly dropwise solution is added. So after reacting these two samples, the reaction on completion it will shows at the particular end point. So from this end point we can take the reading for the corresponding titration and we can determine the exact concentration of the sample B by the formula N1V1 equals to N2V2. So this is the simple method titration. Now we are going to study detail the different types of the titrations which can be carried out for different types of the substances. Now let us consider first the basic terms which are involved in this titrimetric analysis. Some terms are involved. In this case, we know that the exact concentration of the sample can be determined and the solution whose concentration is known, it is first filled in the burette. So that sample it is called as the standard solution, or so solution it is called standard solution. So first term is the titrant. Titrant is the solution or the compound which is filled in the burette. It is the solution which is filled in the burette and having the known concentration. It is called as the titrant. So titrant, it is the solution or the substance whose concentration is known and it is filled in the burette during the titrimetric analysis. It is called as the titrant. Now second term, it is the titrand. So titrant is the sample or the solution of the compound whose concentration is to be determined, and in titrimetric analysis it is taken in the conical flask. It is called as the titrand. For example, we can consider the titration of acid and base, acid versus base. For example, NaOH versus HCl. In that case, NaOH whose exact concentration is known, it is filled in the burette. It is taken in the burette. And HCl whose concentration is to be determined, it is taken in the conical flask. So this NaOH it is called as the titrant, and the HCl whose concentration is to be determined, it is called as the titrant. Now the next point, it is the equivalence point, or also it is called as the end point of the titration. So in the titration what we are doing, we are carrying out the reaction of the two species, for example acid and base. So when acid and base reacts, we know that slowly the neutralization takes place, and at the particular concentration of the acid and base, for example nearly equal concentration of the acid and base, the solution becomes neutral or the reaction will be completed. At that point, it is called as the equivalence point, or it is also called as the end point. So in titration, when the reaction of between the two samples, it is solutions, it is completed, which is indicated by change in physical change, which is indicated by some physical change like change in color, it is called as the end point of the titration or the equivalence point of this titration. Now this physical change, for example change in color may occur. For example, when we carried out the titration between the NaOH and HCl, for this particular indicator is used. So by using this indicator, we can observe the change in color at the equivalence point or the end point. So indicator is the substance which is added during the titration, which shows the change in color at the particular pH value when at the equivalence point, so it is called as the indicator. So when equivalence point arises, there is change in the pH of the solution occur and it is indicated by the substance called indicator. For example, in the titration of NaH and HCl, phenolphthalein indicator is used. It having the pH range nearly 8.3 to 10 pH units. So each indicator having the particular transition range. So transition range for the pH indicator for the indicator is the range of the pH within which that indicator shows the change in color. It is called as the transition range. So for this phenolphthalein transition range, it is 8.3 to 10. So when this indicator is added in the acid, it shows the colorless. It is the colorless. But when we are slowly adding the NaOH from the burette, then what happens? The concentration of the base will goes on increasing and acid will get slowly neutralized, and at the equivalence point neutral pH arises. So pH becomes 7 at the end point or at the equivalence point, and after that point addition of very small quantity of NaOH, alkaline solution is generated. So we know that below 7 pH is acidic and above 7 pH is alkaline. So above 7 pH, after neutralization point, slight amount of addition of the NaOH, that will give the pink colored solution, because this phenolphthalein indicator, it is colorless in the acidic medium and it is pink color in the basic medium. So this phenolphthalein acts as the indicator for the titration of acid and base. Now the next term used in this case, it is also called as the transition range for the pH for the indicator. Transition range for the indicator. So according to different types of the acids and bases, they will show the different types of the endpoints which are generated during the titration, and different types of the indicators must be used. Because when we consider the strong acid, they should be titrated with the strong bases only. Weak acid can be titrated with the strong bases, or weak bases can be titrated with strong acids. So these are the different types of the neutralization titration. But we can carry out different types of the titration for the acid and bases. But in case of the strong acid and strong base, we have to use the particular indicator. Again, for the weak acid and strong bases, we have to use the another type of indicator, because the end point is found to be different. Their pH range is found to be different. So accordingly, we have to use the different types of the indicator. So at the end point, depending upon the pH at the end point, we have to take the indicator, suitable indicator for that particular titration. So it can be indicated by the suitable indicator. So suitable indicator is the indicator which having the pH range or its transition range near to equivalence, near to pH range of the equivalence point. So number of the suitable indicators can be given for the titration, but the best indicator is only one. So these are some terms which are involved in the titration. Now we are going to consider the classification of the titrations or the different types of the reactions of titrations. First is the neutralization reactions or neutralization titration. So when we carried out the titration between the acid and bases, So it comes under the neutralization reactions or the neutralization titration. Further, it is divided into acidimetry and alkalimetry. So in acidimetry, when free acids are titrated against the standard bases, it is called as the acidimetry, and alkalimetry, when the free bases are titrated with the standard acid, it is called as the alkalimetry. So acid can be titrated against the base or base can be titrated against the acids depending upon the in order to determine the whose concentration is to be determined. So this is the first type of the titration or the reaction. Second is the complex forming reaction or complexometric titration. So these reactions are nothing but the types of the titration. So complexometric titrations are complex forming reactions. So in this type of the titration, two solutions are titrated in which the complexating agent is added, and at the certain point of the concentration in the given solution, complex is formed, which is indicated by complexing agent by change in color or some physical change or change in color or precipitation. So these type of the titration are called as the complexometric titration. In this case, the particular example is given. We know that the chloride ions can be easily reacted with the silver metal and it will form the precipitate of AgCl. So silver nitrate solution, it is generally used in this type of titration. So we know that in silver nitrate, silver having the plus charge and sodium cyanide or potassium cyanide, this type of compound may be used to generate the cyanide minus ion. This cyanide minus ion reacted, two molecules are reacted to form the silver cyanide compound. So the silver cyanide compound, this is called as the complex. So complex, it is the structural, you can say it is the molecule in which metal is present, central metal ion, it is surrounded by the donating ligands or the atoms. So it is called as the complex. So when such type of the complex, these are formed in this reaction at the particular concentration, these are called as the complexometric titration. Now the EDTA or sodium salt of the EDTA is used as the complexating agent for this type of the titration. EDTA, it is called as the ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. If we see the structure of this EDTA, it is ligand, act as the ligand in the titration. So this is the structure of the ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. So it is ethylene diamine, 2 nitrogen and 4 acetic acid molecules are attached to the nitrogen. So it is accordingly it is called as ethylene diamine tetraacetic acid. So here how many donor atoms are present? This O minus, this is also when this is carboxylate ion, it is also act as the donor. In acidic medium it becomes carboxylate ion. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 donor atoms are formed, are present in the same molecule. So it is called as hexadentate ligand. It acts as the ligand in the complex formation process. So silver is the central metal and these act as the ligand. So this is hexadentate ligand. And the sodium salt of this compound, it is stable at the stable solid at the room temperature. So it is easily available and used for the complexating agent for the complexometric titration. So as the 6 ligands are present, this will form the octahedral complex with this number of the metals. So this is used as very useful chelating agent or the complexating agent for the complexometric titration. Then next point, third point is the oxidation reduction reaction, or it is also called as the redox reaction. We know that oxidation is nothing but the loss of electrons, reduction is the gain of electron. So when simultaneous in different two solutions, there is transfer of the electron takes place, either gain of the electrons occur or loss of electrons occur, or simultaneously gain and loss occurs. So it is called as this type of reaction, it is called oxidation reduction reaction, or it is also called as redox reaction. So in this type of reactions, there is transfer of the electron occurs, and accordingly the oxidation state of the element will get changed. And in this case, oxidizing agent and reducing agents are titrated with one another. Now oxidizing agents are the compounds that will forces the another compound to lose electrons. Itself it will undergo the reduction. And reducing agent, it is the compound which forces the another compound to gain the electron, and itself it undergo the oxidation process. So number of examples are given for the oxidizing agent, reducing agent. This is KMnO4 potassium permanganate, K2Cr2O7 potassium dichromate, cerium sulfate, iodine, potassium iodide, potassium bromate, ozone, H2SO4. These are the oxidizing agent, examples of the oxidizing agent. So all these compounds, these will tends to accept the electron and forces the other compound to lose the electrons. So these are act as the oxidizing agent. Now lithium aluminum hydride, sodium borohydride, sodium thiosulfate, oxalic acid, ascorbic acid, formic acid, these are the examples of the reducing agent, because these are electron rich species and they will oxidize, forces another compound to oxidize, and itself themselves they undergoes the oxidation process. So these are the examples of oxidizing and reducing agent, and this is the third type of the titration or titration reactions. It is the redox or titration. So in redox titration, oxidizing reagents are titrated with the reducing agent, and accordingly the concentration of the sample or the element can be determined. The fourth type in this case is the precipitation titration. So this is about the introductory part of the volumetric analysis. Important terms we have learned in this titrimetric analysis or titration, and the three types of the titrations we have studied. We have just seen the introductory part. Now in the next lecture we will study last type, precipitation titration, and again we will start the neutralization titration in detail. Which are the examples, how titration is carried out, how pH is changes, and what is the curve obtained from for the titration for different types of the neutralization titration. So that's all for today. Thank you.